Hello, welcome back to another episode of FXck The What If. My name is Aaliyah, and today, what better way to follow up a relationship podcast or a dating podcast than with a friendship podcast? So, yeah, we're just going to get right into it. At this point, we are definitely figuring out who we want to keep in our lives because you absolutely, positively have to have some friendships that have been in your life for quite a while. Whether it be like cousins who are super close to you or just people you've known for a really long time. Whether or not you've maintained that relationship over the course of your adulthood or your youth, you're definitely going to end up reconnecting some way, somehow, or losing that friendship. So we're going to talk about all that today. It's really cool to have those long-lasting friendships. Those are probably the easiest, considering how well those people probably know you. Probably better than maybe even your closest family members, to the point where they can like predict your mannerisms or your reactions, or they know what things like really get you excited, or your favorite interests are, like to the point where they almost feel like a sibling because you guys have known each other for so long that, you know, no matter what, there's nothing that could genuinely come in between you guys. And those are super awesome friendships when they are healthy. What do you mean when they're healthy? What do I mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? Healthy friendships are ones that kind of feel effortless, where of course you do put in the effort to maintain friendships, but you guys are so understanding when it comes to what one another expects from the title of friend. You guys know where you mesh, and you're willing to explore and have those conversations in what you don't like or may disagree on. Especially with doing that with somebody who you've known your whole life, it can be a lot easier. Because at the end of the day, if you guys do have a difference in opinion, there's always that opportunity to continue to grow with each other as much as you already have. Those friendships are definitely not to be taken for granted. I know there's a lot of us who have probably moved around a lot in our childhood, whether it be like countries and parents settling in Canada or wherever your parents do end up starting your life. Maybe it's not super consistent and you don't have a lot of friends who've known forever, but you are really good at making friends and getting out of your own bubble to look for people who you do have interests in, or maybe you just get lucky. And that's how you make these friends. That's not to take away or not to be looked at any differently. Because at the end of the day, you do value that relationship. And friendships are always fun to start. Like, you can never have too many friends, in my opinion. I don't think anyways. Another crazy thing about long-lasting friendships is that people always surprise you. We are ever changing. And that's literally the story of life. You grow, you develop maybe different habits. Maybe you learn things about yourself that were maybe true when you were a young adult but aren't true now. And you may find yourself like drifting apart, but you know that your friends, no matter where they are, will keep you grounded. Whether that friendship has been for decades or if it has been a few months. Your friends should be there to remind you of what's important in life. To you. Friendships that can be draining or can feel like one-sided. Friendships that maybe have you feeling as though you're underappreciated or under-recognized. That's bound to happen. Because like we said, people are always changing. What's important in friendships, though, is that you guys know how to talk about these changes. As friends, I think it's really important to acknowledge that you pick your friends. You are the sole person who is in control of who you allow into your bubble and what role you will allow them to have in your life. When you are allowing yourself to be disturbed in some way by your friends, or you feel like your day's being thrown off after talking to somebody, or just found out some news, you should really reflect on that and ask yourself, like, dig deeper. What's going on? Why is it that you're feeling this way? Could it be that you're genuinely being treated unfairly, or could it be that maybe this person's having a bad day and they're just having a difficult time expressing themselves? Or do you genuinely feel like your effort is not being matched? There's definitely a more eloquent way to say that, but that's what we're going to go with. You feel as though maybe even though you have a lot going on right now, you're putting in more than the other half. As friends, though, as a friend, you do have to keep in mind that you can be somebody's support system. Not that you are expected to be, but that friend has allowed you that opportunity to be a support system, mechanism, a support system for them. And it's really important to step back and sometimes, on occasion, put others' feelings first. Now, I'm not saying do this every single time if they come to you over the same problems. That's a whole other issue. But when your friends are down, when they are going through hard times, it's very important to recognize that they have chosen this relationship as the safe one to express how they feel vulnerable, or why what's going on has them treating you this way, or whatever it may be. It's really important at this age too, especially, to give people a chance. If they are deserving of that chance, you determine what that means. But it's really important to just remind yourselves that we're all going through something. And with your friends, it's very important to make sure that you are taking that into consideration when they may be showing signs that they're at their lowest point. Friends can be chosen family too. Some people can be more comfortable with their friends than their own siblings, their own cousins, and that can happen once you've developed a level of trust or strong communication, strong interest. You guys have found common ground. That's totally normal. But it is very important to also recognize that this person is not dependent on you, that this person has chosen to allow you to help them. It's really cool to be chosen as a friend, and it's really cool to feel trusted. The main thing is that you value and respect that person, especially since they're your friend. I shouldn't need to tell you, I should not be the person to tell you how to treat your friends correctly. But if you need a reminder, I guess that's what I'm here for too. Anyways, getting back to it, I did want to apologize. My microphone has been rubbing against my sweatshirt, so RIP headphone users. When they choose you, it's really important just to know that you also have the power to choose them back. You don't have to be friends with somebody just because they want to be friends with you. It is totally okay to not have drinks with everybody at your office. Nobody's going to be pissed off at you if you tell them no. They might catch a 1-2 feelings of some hurt or rejection, but that's life. You're not going to be friends with everybody. You're not going to want to sit down and share a meal and converse with someone. That's why, going to a restaurant on a first date can be super hit or miss. You're either going to cut the check early before the dessert or you might make it home. But either way, you are in power of who you bring into your circle. That does not mean don't be kind and considerate to others. It just means you can respect yourself while respecting other people and being honest with yourself and them. Nobody wants to find out that weeks after texting and chatting that you don't actually like this person, especially if you knew that right out of the gate. It's best to be upfront about how you feel in all aspects of life, especially because at the end of the day, your time is valuable. Living is, yes, the longest thing you're going to do, but life is also random. So you got to be very careful about where you choose to spend that time. It's not to say that some friends don't add value to certain experiences. I can almost guarantee you've heard somebody say that, oh, XYZ is just a party friend. Or, oh, XYZ is just a friend that I have at school for lessons and studying. And of course that's okay. It's great to have friends who are it's great to have people around you that have different talents and different interests, because it's great to have those outside perspectives that can challenge your own, especially considering that you value the source of those differing opinions. When it comes to having friends and maintaining those different relationships, it is really important, though, that you are being genuine and upfront. Nobody likes to be lied to, and I think that's going to be a very common theme. It's not one of those things where you ask yourself, oh, what if this person doesn't like me? What if this person thinks that I'm being too nice? What if this person thinks that I'm being overbearing and trying too hard to be their friend, or trying too hard to have the same interests? Fuck that. Forget that negative ass nagging Nelly, I guess, that's just bothering you about the possibilities of something you haven't tried with somebody you consider important to you. Those people who are in your life want to hear what you have to say. They want to know what gets you excited. Having friends who have varying interests is a great way to expand your knowledge and your outlook on life. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they like or do, but as a friend, it does mean that you have to respect at least the source. It can be totally challenging to have drastic differences when it comes to interests to maintain those friendships, but not everybody needs to be your best friend. And that's okay too. I read somewhere, I don't remember where, I wish I did, but I read somewhere that as human beings, we are terrible at gauging the friendship level of new people that we've become friends with. It's hard to tell where we stand personally. And I find that really funny, just considering that The reason that probably is because we are so scared of rejection, and we are so scared of being more invested in something than somebody else, that can hinder the flourishing or the start of something beautiful, which is really sad, but it is the facts. And it's unfortunate that it is in relationships as simple as friendships, because when you really put it into perspective, having a friend should be the easiest damn thing to do. Having somebody to reach out to, having somebody to contact. Because at the end of the day, human beings value connection. As people, we value connection with others. That is what makes life enjoyable. Small moments and memories. And when you can share those things with other people, not only does that build your relationship, but that also helps fulfill you within. Because not only did you have a great time, but you had a great time with somebody special that you can now, in 5-10 years, or a couple weeks, couple months, look back and reflect on this awesome shared experience. I did also want to touch up on reconnecting with friends who you may not have consistent communication with. I feel like as a young adult, especially somebody who, coming from someone, I should say, who's been out of high school for a comfortable amount of time, there's probably only one person or 2 or 3 people that I consistently keep in touch with that I went to school with, high school with. And we always hear, oh yeah, your circle dwindles. The older you get, the higher the grade goes, the smaller the circle becomes. Like, yeah, that can be true, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean those friends who fell off don't still appreciate or value you or who you were. It could just mean that somewhere in between, that connection fell through the cracks and y'all never went back. It happens. It's life. Greatest thing, though, is to run into those people when you're least expecting it. I totally have to share this story. Shout out to Jada. I'm very new to wearing makeup, and of course there was a new makeup brand, whatever. I needed a shade match, bottom line. I was just going to go up to the clerk and be like, hey, help a sister out. Don't know where to start, where to begin. But I did go ask the clerk, and it just so happened to be somebody who I was friends with in high school. Well, Jada, it happened to be Jada. And it was great. Having those conversations with people where it doesn't feel like there's a time skip is great. We know time has passed, and we're able to look back and reflect on what's changed in that time, and to have those meaningful conversations about what we've learned in the time apart. It was a really great surprise, not gonna lie, to have a very genuine conversation with a friend from my past. Considering that we haven't had a conversation like this in years. That's super common the older you get. This was probably one of those occasions, but this is just my most recent, most memorable one. And it's crazy to reflect on how many times it has happened. You always think, what would I say if I saw this person again? Or, oh yeah, it'd really be great to catch up with this person and talk about this thing that I've seen that they're interested in. Because at the end of the day, we love to talk and have those connections reinforced. Friendships don't die. They may fizzle, but they never fully put themselves out until you have suffocated that fire. You don't really end friendships unless you burn that bridge. Let's be real. The older you get, I think the easier it is to acknowledge that. When catching up it's lovely to be able to express that growth where you have developed personally. But as a friend, it's also really amazing to see that in people who you think are important. And it's always a great time. You may be surprised what changes people have gone through. They definitely, don't always live up to your expectation. And that's the coolest thing about growing. You find out things about yourself, you find out things about other people, and with your friends, it just accelerates that knowledge, because not only are you able to have those intelligent conversations, but you also allow yourself that room for mistakes, the room to improve. Personally, I think it's very important to look at your friends and see qualities and strategies that you may not have for yourself, but things that you may want to work on. Because no one's perfect, obviously, but it is really cool to see people who have some aspects of life worked out where you could definitely use some self-improvement, who are willing to share that knowledge with you. In your 20s, late teens, early 30s, it is really important to have people around you who want to develop you. The last thing you need is a yes man. The last thing you need is somebody encouraging your toxic behaviors. The last thing you need is a friend who's going to tell you to make stupid decisions when you already know that they are wrong. Somebody who's going to stroke your ego. That's not really a friend. You need people in your life who are going to push you to do your best because they know you are capable and you have that potential. It's okay to have surface level friendships too. As long as, hey, that is established with both parties. Coworkers can remain coworkers, but they can also be friends. It's just a matter of understanding where each person is and how to be comfortable in those settings. I'm not here to tell you who to be friends with or who not to be friends with, but I am going to say that if anything I just said struck a note or brought a name to your head, you should definitely continue to think about that after I stop this episode. What's also really fun to do is think about who you can picture babysitting your kids. Because those are the friends you want to keep. Those are the people. Think about it this way. If you trust somebody, if you respect somebody enough where you would trust them with your legacy, watching your legacy, feeding the mind of your legacy, making sure your legacy doesn't get glue or anything on them that they shouldn't, like I'm thinking glue in the hair or like eating glue sticks, but somebody who's responsible enough to do the work, do the hard time, to see those results, those are definitely people to keep close and to appreciate. Respect is on different levels for all of us. I guess that's just my example. I personally, when it comes to kids, I'm on the fence, but if I were to ask and call you up or send you a text message to babysit my kid, just know I trust you with my life. Or with the life of my kid. Anyways, I think that's where I'm going to wrap this episode up. Message your friends, check up on them, tell them you love them, especially during these quarantine COVID times. Yeah. Don't be scared to rekindle friendships either. Enjoy life for what it is. At the end of the day, We are all diamonds under the pressure of life. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.